My name is Lauren Williams. I'm 36 years old. The wedding venue was beautiful in the way magazines and rich people's Instagrams were beautiful. The Ashford Estate was one of those historic properties that charge $20,000 just for the privilege of letting you say, I do, on their grounds. That didn't include catering, flowers, the string quartet, or any of the other things that turned a simple ceremony into a full-scale production. The gardens were immaculate. White roses everywhere, hedges trimmed with military precision, lanterns hanging from old trees like captured stars. The quartet played something soft and expensive sounding. It was exactly the kind of wedding my sister Jennifer had always wanted. I was sitting at table 7. That should have told me everything I needed to know about my place in the family hierarchy. Not at the head table with immediate family. Not even at table 1 with honored guests. Table 7, near the back, half shaded by a pillar, far enough from the dance floor that you could pretend you weren't really part of the event. I was seated with my cousin Marcus, who everyone avoided because he talked too much about cryptocurrency, and my Aunt Helen, who'd been divorced 3 times and liked to describe each marriage in excruciating, wine-soaked detail. Lauren. My mother materialized beside me in a sweep of silk and sequins. Patricia Williams had always known how to make an entrance. Her mother of the bride dress probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, and she wore it like armor. There you are, she said, touching my shoulder with a rehearsed tenderness. We've been looking for you. Jennifer wants all the family together for photos. I'll be right there, Mom. And please try to smile naturally this time, she added, lowering her voice. You always look so stiff in photos. She glanced down at my dress, a simple navy blue sheath I'd bought off the rack at Nordstrom because it fit. It was comfortable, and I didn't feel like spending more. That's what you're wearing? Yes, I said. It's very plain, she murmured. I told you this was a formal wedding. Jennifer specifically requested that everyone dress up. This is dressed up, Mom, she sighed, the kind of sigh that conveyed deep disappointment without the inconvenience of actual words. Well, come on then. Maybe borrow some jewelry from someone. You look so bare. I followed her across the lawn to where the photographer had set up an elaborate flower arch. Jennifer stood there in a white silk and lace confection that had required 6 fittings and a $40,000 budget. Next to her, her fiancé, now husband, Derek, looked slightly strangled by his tuxedo collar. Finally, Jennifer said when she saw me, we've been waiting for 20 minutes. The photographer charges by the hour. Sorry, I replied. I was at my assigned table. You're assigned, she cut herself off, then turned to my mother. Oh my God, did you put her at table 7? She laughed, sharp and brittle. That's perfect. Table 7 is where we put people we had to invite but don't really want to talk to. Jennifer, that's rude, my father said, but he was smiling as he said it. Thomas Williams had never been good at actually disciplining his golden child. I'm just being honest, Daddy. Jennifer repositioned herself in the center of the family group, subtly shifting everyone else like chess pieces to make sure she was the focal point. Everyone smile, she commanded. Look happy. This is costing a fortune. We took photos for 30 minutes. Jennifer wanted every possible combination. Parents, siblings, grandparents, bridesmaids, cousins, one with just her and Dad, one with just her and Mom, one with her and the women who made her who she is, which did not include me. I stood where I was told to stand, smiled when I was told to smile, said nothing. Okay, I think we're done with family photos, the photographer finally announced. Shall we move on to the bridal party? Yes, thank you, Jennifer said, dismissing us with a flick of her hand. She turned to me. Lauren, you can go back to your table now. We're doing bridal party only. I nodded and turned to leave. Wait. My mother's fingers closed around my arm, gentle but firm. Before you go, Jennifer wanted to introduce you to some people, she said. Okay. Potential employers, my father added, stepping in. Professional connections. People who might be able to help you get a real job. I have a job, Dad. Your little internet hobby doesn't count, Jennifer said, her voice carrying over the murmuring crowd. Several nearby guests glanced over. Mom and Dad have been networking for you. The least you could do is be grateful. I'm not looking for a job, I said. Well, you should be. Jennifer smoothed down the bodice of her dress and checked her reflection in a nearby window. Lauren, you're 36 years old. It's time to stop playing entrepreneur and get serious about your career. These people are doing us a favor by even considering you. Considering me for what? I asked. Alan Brennan over there, my mother said, gesturing toward a distinguished-looking man in his 50s. He's a senior partner at a marketing firm. He said they have an opening for a junior account coordinator. It would be perfect for you. Starting salary is only $55,000, but with your lack of experience, that's actually quite generous. Junior account coordinator, I repeated. Everyone has to start somewhere, my father said firmly. You've wasted 15 years playing around with websites. It's time to get real work experience. Alan is willing to interview you as a favor to us. And Margaret Chin, my mother added, nodding toward a woman in a deep green dress. She owns a PR boutique. She might have an entry-level position opening up in a few months. Answering phones, doing administrative work, getting your foot in the door. I looked at Margaret, poised, confident, laughing easily with her circle of guests. She looked like someone who'd built something real. I appreciate the thought, I said carefully, but I'm not interested. You're not interested? Jennifer's voice went cold. Of course you're not. You'd rather keep pretending your little online shop is a real business. Jennifer, don't, Derek murmured. But she was wired now, adrenaline and wedding attention colliding. No, Derek, she insisted. Someone needs to say it. We've all been tiptoeing around Lauren's delusions for years. She sits in her apartment all day, playing on her computer, pretending she's running a business. Meanwhile, she's living paycheck to paycheck, driving a car that's falling apart, wearing off-the-rack dresses to weddings because she can't afford anything nice. My car is fine, I said quietly. Your car is 15 years old, Jennifer snapped. It's an embarrassment. And your apartment? When was the last time anyone visited you there? Right, never, because you're too ashamed to have anyone see how you're actually living. I'm not ashamed of my apartment. You should be. She lowered her voice just enough to make it feel more intimate, more lethal. Mom told me it's in that terrible neighborhood downtown, the one with all the questionable people. You could have stayed in the suburbs where it's safe, where it's nice. But no, you had to move to the city to be near your business opportunities. My mother nodded sadly. We've been so worried about you, Lauren. Living alone in that dangerous area, working all hours on this internet thing that doesn't seem to generate any real income. When was the last time you took a vacation? When was the last time you bought yourself something nice? I bought a new laptop last month, I said. A laptop for work doesn't count, Jennifer scoffed. I'm talking about jewelry, designer clothes, luxury items, the things successful people have. Look at Derek and me. We just bought a house in Maple Ridge. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, gourmet kitchen. That's what success looks like, not sitting in a studio apartment selling things online. I don't live in a studio, I said. Whatever. The point is, you're wasting your life. You had potential, Lauren. You went to Stanford. You could have done something real with that degree. Instead, you dropped out after 2 years to pursue this ridiculous business idea. And 15 years later, what do you have to show for it? Nothing. I wouldn't say nothing, I murmured. Jennifer folded her arms, eyes glittering. Name one tangible thing your business has achieved. One thing that proves it's actually successful and not just you playing pretend. I could have answered, I could have named 20, but something in me stayed still. I'm happy with what I've built, I said simply. Jennifer laughed, sharp and loud. Happy. That's what unsuccessful people say when they've given up on actually achieving anything. I am happy, I repeated. Well, congratulations on your happiness, Lauren, she said. I hope it keeps you warm in that studio apartment when you're 60 and still haven't accomplished anything with your life. Jennifer, that's enough, Derek said more firmly. It's not enough, she snapped. Someone has to give her a reality check. I'm tired of pretending. She turned to the watching guests, raising her voice like she was making a toast. My sister Lauren, everyone, she's a cautionary tale. Proof that intelligence doesn't guarantee success. She went to one of the best universities in the country and dropped out to sell things on the internet. 15 years later, she's broke, alone, and still pretending she's a businesswoman. I'm not broke, I said quietly. Jennifer's gaze locked on mine. Then prove it. Show us. Bank statements, clients, contracts, anything that proves you're not just a failure who's too stubborn to admit it. The garden had gone completely silent. Even the string quartet had stopped playing. Every single guest was staring at us now, waiting to see what I'd say next. I just smiled and said nothing. For a moment, no one moved. Even the breeze seemed to hesitate, as if the entire Ashford Estate had leaned in to listen. Jennifer stood across from me, like a prosecutor preparing her closing argument. Chin tilted, shoulders back, eyes bright with the kind of righteous superiority she'd been rehearsing her entire life. Nothing to say? She pressed. Of course not, because there's nothing to say. She looked around at the guests. The co-workers of Derek's who wore tailored suits, the extended relatives clutching champagne flutes, the friends from her fitness studio who'd been whispering about my dress since the ceremony began. This, Jennifer said, gesturing at me with a flourish, is what happens when someone refuses to grow up. Jennifer, my dad said softly, warningly, but even he didn't step between us. She steamrolled over him anyway. No, this needs to be said. We're all thinking it. Were we? The silence felt less like agreement and more like quiet horror, the morbid fascination of watching a car crash in slow motion. I stayed still, not because I was weak, but because I'd spent 15 years learning how to handle their version of help, their version of love, the version that stung and smiled at the same time. Mom jumped in next, as she always did, playing the role of the concerned mother she performed so well. Lauren, honey, your sister's right to worry. Your apartment isn't safe. You don't take real vacations. You buy cheap clothes. You never have anything new. You're living so small. Living small, if only she knew. And the car, Mom continued, wrinkling her nose. That Honda is falling apart. It's reliable, I murmured. Reliable? Jennifer laughed. It's from 2009. It's embarrassing. The rest of us drive real cars. Oh boy, Aunt Helen whispered into her wine. I crossed my arms loosely. I like my car. Because you can't afford a new one, Jennifer shot back. You can't afford anything. The guests' eyes ping-ponged between us like we were the evening's entertainment. Even the string quartet, clearly sensing the shift, quietly set their instruments down. I breathed in slowly, out even slower. Lauren, my father interjected, trying to reclaim authority. We've been trying to help you for years. We just want you to be successful. We love you. Heat pricked behind my eyes, not from emotion, but from the sheer audacity. Jennifer crossed her arms. Say it, Lauren. Tell us what this business of yours really is. Tell us what you actually do all day. I told you, I said quietly. I run a software company. She barked out a laugh. A software company? Please. You sell things on the internet. No, I corrected. I develop software solutions for... Oh, stop, she cut in. Nobody's ever heard of your company. If it were real, it would be in the news or something. I fought the urge to laugh, hard. If you're so successful, Jennifer continued, name one client, just one, or show us your financials, or contracts. She leaned closer. Show us anything. The guests murmured. Phones subtly lifted as people pretended to check messages, when really, they were recording. This was no longer a wedding. This was a spectacle. Before I could respond, not that I intended to, another voice cut through the air. Excuse me, a man said, stepping forward. The silver-haired marketing executive my parents had wanted me to meet, Alan Brennan. I don't mean to intrude, but this doesn't sound like a loving conversation. It sounds like an ambush. My mother placed a manicured hand on her chest. Alan, no. We're just giving Lauren a reality check. He frowned deeply. In front of 100 people? Before Mom could respond, another voice chimed in, stronger, sharper. This feels cruel, said the woman in the green dress, Margaret Chin, the PR boutique owner. Unnecessarily cruel. My father stiffened. This doesn't concern you. Actually, Margaret said, lifting her chin, it does. She turned to me, her eyes softened, focused, recognizing. Lauren Williams, she said slowly, as if tasting the name. I didn't make the connection before. That name is familiar. My stomach didn't lurch, didn't flip, didn't do anything at all. I'd been waiting 15 years for someone, anyone, in my family to connect the dots. She tapped her phone, typing quickly, her brows lifted higher with each second. Oh my God, she whispered. What? Jennifer demanded. Margaret looked at her, at my parents, then back at me. You're that Lauren Williams. My mother blinked. What do you mean that? The founder of Nexus Solutions, Margaret said, louder now, because a crowd had gathered. The software company that revolutionized e-commerce analytics. The company valued at billions. Jennifer laughed, high-pitched, brittle. That's insane. Lauren doesn't... A gasp went up from the back. Someone pointed at the venue bar. Turn on the TV. Within seconds, someone had clicked on the large flat screen. CNBC's logo flashed. A bright red banner scrolled across the bottom. Breaking news. Amazon to acquire Nexus Solutions for $7.2 billion. The reporter's voice filled the tense silence. And founded by low-profile tech entrepreneur Lauren Williams, Nexus Solutions has become one of the most influential enterprise platforms in the e-commerce sector. My mother's breath hitched. Jennifer's face drained of color so fast she looked like porcelain. My father's mouth opened, closed, then opened again, like his brain had unplugged itself. And there, on the TV, my face appeared. My Forbes profile headshot. Smile calm, eyes steady. Everything my family refused to see reflected right back at them. Nexus founder Lauren Williams, estimated personal net worth approximately $3 billion. Someone dropped a champagne glass. It shattered. No one looked down. Margaret stared at me, hand pressed over her heart. Lauren, is that really you? And for the first time all afternoon, I let myself smile for real. Yes, I said softly. It's me. The moment I confirmed it, yes, it's me, a strange wave moved through the wedding garden. It wasn't applause, it wasn't gasping. It was something quieter, heavier, like a collective recalibration. 100 people rewriting their internal files all at once. Jennifer's mouth hung open. My mother swayed, like she needed a fainting couch. My father blinked hard, like his brain was buffering. Derek whispered, "Holy shit," under his breath. And then, as if the universe wanted to underline the moment, the CNBC reporter continued. Williams's personal stake in the sale is estimated at 40%, placing her net worth at roughly $3 billion pending acquisition closure. Jennifer stumbled back a step. $3 billion? She whispered. No, that can't be right. Lauren doesn't, she can't, she looked at me like she expected me to deny it, to laugh and say it was all a joke. But I didn't. It's correct, I said gently, give or take. My mother finally found her voice. It shook. You said you sold things online. No, I corrected. You said I sold things online. I said I ran a software company. You just didn't believe me. But you live in a tiny apartment downtown, Mom stammered. I raised an eyebrow. Mom, I live in a penthouse, 3,500 square feet, floor-to-ceiling windows, waterfront view. I've lived there for 8 years. Her hand flew to her mouth. But your car! My Honda? I shrugged. I like it. It reminds me of who I used to be. I also own a Tesla and a Range Rover, but the Honda is easier to street park. Jennifer's face was frozen in the kind of horrified expression usually reserved for haunted mirrors in horror movies. And that dress? She croaked. $200, I said. Nordstrom. Because I don't think spending a mortgage payment on a dress makes you a better person. A man broke into the circle, a tall guy in an expensive suit who looked like he always had something urgent to say. Lauren Williams? He asked breathlessly. Yes? I'm Marcus Reed. I'm a venture capitalist. I have been trying to get a meeting with you for 2 years. I know, I said. I read your emails. He blinked. You read them? I also declined them. He nodded rapidly. Of course. You didn't need VC. You did it alone. It's actually legendary. Jennifer's knees almost buckled. Margaret stepped forward, looking dazed and impressed. Lauren, she said, her voice soft and reverent, if I had known... You would have offered me a receptionist job? I asked with a small smile. She laughed, loudly, warmly. I would have begged you to join my board. From the corner of my eye, I saw Dad trying to gather himself. Lauren, he said, his voice soft, almost frightened. Why? Why didn't you tell us? I tilted my head. Dad, I tried, for years. They blinked, confused. So I reminded them. When Nexus turned 5 and I invited everyone to the celebration dinner at the Hilton, you told me you wouldn't waste an evening on my hobby. Dad flinched. When I tried to talk about my work at Christmas 3 years ago, Jennifer told me I was boring everyone. Jennifer's lips pressed into a thin line. When Mom wanted her kitchen remodeled and I said I could help because I knew a contractor, you told me you didn't want charity from someone barely scraping by. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Not the pretty kind she liked to cry at social events, but the raw kind she tried to swallow down. Lauren, she whispered, we didn't know. Yes, I said, you did. You just didn't listen. A ripple of murmuring moved through the crowd as guests checked their phones, whispering. She built Nexus? Is that actually her? Worth $3 billion? $3 billion? Oh my God, she's on Forbes. Someone tapped my shoulder. Lauren? A young woman asked shyly. Could I take a picture with you? My boyfriend uses Nexus every day at work. I smiled. Sure. After the photo, my family watched me from a distance. They looked like statues carved from shock and regret. But the performance wasn't over. The venue wedding coordinator hurried over, frazzled. Jennifer, she said urgently, we need to proceed with the schedule. Dinner is ready. Jennifer blinked like she'd forgotten she was the bride. She stared at me, wide-eyed, panicked, ghost white. The golden child, the princess of the family, the woman of the hour. Completely outshined by the sister she'd placed at table 7. Alan Brennan approached again, hands clasped awkwardly. So, I'm guessing you're no longer interested in the junior account coordinator job? Probably not, I said kindly. Right, of course, he stammered. I turned back toward my family, Mom trembling, Dad ashen, Jennifer looking like her whole worldview had just caught fire. Lauren, Mom whispered, stepping forward, can we talk somewhere private? I shook my head gently. There's nothing left to talk about right now. Please, Dad said, voice cracking, just a few minutes. Jennifer grabbed Derek's arm as if the ground were tilting beneath her. Lauren, she said in a tiny voice I'd never heard from her before, please don't go. I stared at all three of them, my whole family, standing small and broken in the middle of the wedding they'd crafted to be their social triumph. I felt nothing bitter, nothing vindictive, just clarity. I need to go, I said softly. I have a conference call. What? My mother croaked. A call? With Amazon, I said. About the acquisition. Their faces collapsed. I turned and walked away. The sister they'd mocked, pitied, criticized, dismissed, was walking out of their wedding to discuss a $7.2 billion deal. I walked across the Ashford Estate gardens, heels quiet and over the flagstone path, the murmurs of shocked wedding guests following me like a trailing breeze. The string quartet picked up their instruments again, tentatively, as if afraid of interrupting the seismic shift that had just cracked through the event. Their music wasn't elegant anymore. It sounded rattled, uncertain, like even the violins needed a moment to recover. My mother's voice called out behind me. Lauren, wait! I didn't. My father tried next. Just a minute, please. But their voices had lost something. Authority, maybe, or the illusion of knowing who I was. Either way, they didn't have the power to pull me back anymore. I reached the parking lot, the warm evening light washing over the rows of polished luxury cars, Bentleys, Mercedes, a few Teslas, paid for by people who believed success was measured by leather seats and German engineering. And there, among them, sat my 2009 Honda, its paint a little faded, its bumper slightly dented from a parking garage mishap 2 years ago. Still mine, still reliable, still symbolic of the life I'd built, quiet, disciplined, unshowy, real. I opened the driver's door. At that exact moment, Mom, Dad, and Jennifer burst out of the venue doors, calling my name like a desperate chorus. Lauren, please, just stop. We need to talk. You can't leave like this. I leaned against my car door and finally turned to face them. Jennifer was crying. Not the elegant bridal tears she'd rehearsed for dramatic effect. No, her makeup was streaking, her expression crumpled, the brittle confidence shattered. Mom's mascara had smudged under her eyes. Dad's face looked older than I'd ever seen it. They were broken. And not because of me, because of the truth. Lauren, Jennifer said, voice shaking, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. You never asked, I said softly. We're so sorry, my mother choked. We didn't understand. You didn't try to understand. Dad stepped closer. Honey, what can we do? How do we make this right? I studied them, their trembling shoulders, their stunned expressions, the fear of losing me for good. A strange calm washed through me. Not triumph, not vengeance, just stillness. I don't know, I said. I honestly don't know if you can. Jennifer wiped her cheeks. I never meant to hurt you. You told 100 people I was a failure, I said. You pointed at me and called me an embarrassment. Her chin trembled. I didn't know who you actually were. I let that sit in the air. You didn't want to know, I said. That's the difference. Mom stepped forward. We thought you were struggling. We thought you needed help. I let out the smallest breath of a laugh. I didn't need help, Mom. I needed respect. Dad's shoulders sagged. We made a lot of assumptions. Yes, I said. You did. We can change, Jennifer whispered. Please, just let us try. I looked at her, the sister who had reveled in mocking me for years, who'd used me as her personal cautionary tale. Do you know why I didn't defend myself earlier? I asked. They stared, confused. Because I wanted to see how far you'd go, I said. I wanted to see what you really thought of me when you assumed no one else was watching. And they had gone far, farther than I expected, farther than I should have ever let them. I spent 15 years trying to prove myself to this family, I said quietly. And today, I realized something. What? Mom breathed. I don't have to prove anything to any of you. Their faces fell, hard. I have a call in 15 minutes, I said, opening my car door. A call? Dad repeated, stunned. A call with Amazon, I said plainly. We're finalizing integration steps. Silence crushed the space between us. Jennifer's voice cracked. You're leaving? Now? During my wedding? You didn't want me here, I said. Not really. That's not true. You put me at table 7, I said, holding her gaze, with the people you had to invite. That tells me everything I need to know. She flinched. I slipped into the driver's seat. Jennifer lunged a step forward. Lauren, don't go. Please, I need my sister today. I met her eyes. You never wanted your sister, I said gently. You wanted someone to stand under your heel. That's over now. I closed the car door. Their silhouettes blurred through the windshield as I pulled out of the lot. 3 figures standing small in the evening glow, watching me drive away. Not in anger, not in spite, but in freedom. The valet at the Fairmont nodded when he saw me. Welcome back, Miss Williams. I smiled politely as he parked the Honda. People always noticed the car, and they always got it wrong. It wasn't a symbol of poverty. It was a reminder of where I came from and how far I'd gone. I rode the elevator up to the presidential suite, city lights rising with me, glittering like a billion possibilities. Inside, the suite was quiet, peaceful, expansive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the bay. A bottle of champagne from the hotel staff sat on ice with a note. Congratulations on the acquisition. My laptop glowed on the desk, already connected to a meeting link. My assistant Amanda answered on the first ring. All set for the Amazon call, she asked. Yes, I said. Let's get started. And we did, because real success isn't loud. It isn't a spectacle. It isn't a $40,000 wedding gown or a seat at table 1. Real success is quiet, precise, self-made, steady. It's the work you do when no one believes in you. It's the empire you build while everyone else underestimates you. It's the truth that doesn't need defending, because it stands on its own. They had spent 15 years calling me a failure. Now they had to live with the truth. I didn't need their apology. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their seats at their tables. I had built my own.